Honorable Karine James, Minister of Climate Resilience, Environment, and Renewable Energy. Ms. Aria St. Louis, Head of the Department of Environment and Grenada's focal point for the Convention on Biodiversity. Dr. Natalie Budram, Senior Technical Officer, and Ms. Aditi Tanu, Technical Officer of the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute. Mr. Vern Walker, Marine Pollution Program Manager at the Secretariat of the Cartagena Convention. Juanita Chavez Casada, Senior Program Officer representing the UN Environment Program, World Conservation and Monitoring Center. Distinguished invitees, civil society actors and representatives, members of the authors team of Grenada, of the Grenada National Ecosystem Assessment. It is my distinct honor to be the chair of this significant activity this morning, the launch of the Grenada Citizens Guide to the National Ecosystem Assessment. However, as is usual in our activities, we have a little moment of meditation. So I now call on Mr. Joseph Antoine, founder and president of Friends of the Earth of Grenada. And just let me say, it's fitting to congratulate Joseph. It's 30 years since the founding of Friends of the Earth Grenada, to share some inspiring and words of reflection to start this morning's proceedings. Joseph.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Sandra, and morning to all the distinguished people around. And protocol established. I will just give a little piece of thought for people to reflect on. And I would use a poem from Matthew T.J. or J.T. Stepanek. It was a youngster, an American, who died with a rare disease, his mother, his brothers, and so on. He had a friend called Timeless Existence. And when I think about our ecosystem, I think that it should be timeless. So bear with me. It is said, when people notice you are present, let me go it over, sorry. It is nice when people notice that you are present, but it is important when people notice you are absent. It is said that absent makes the heart goes fonder. We should rather that presence makes the heart goes fondest. Then, even when we are gone into our future, we will live in the present of our past. That was written in 1990 and 2002, before he died. Now, I'm saying that because if we don't live in the present now, so that we could be in harmony with our surrounding, our nature, and defend the integrity of the ecology, then we will not be remembered. We will not live in the present, in the present of our future. So I hope that this little thought would help people to reflect even deeper in how we interact and relate to motherhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph. So now it is my pleasure to welcome Ms. Juanita Chavez Casada to make some brief remarks.
Honorable Karine James, Minister of Climate Resilience, Environment and Renewable Energy. Ms. Aria St. Louis, Head of the Department of Environment and Grenada's focal point for the Convention on Biological Diversity. Dr. Natalie Budram, Senior Technical Officer. Ms. Aditi Tanu, Technical Officer of the Canary Team. Ms. Laverne Walker, Marine Pollution Program Manager at the Secretariat of the Cartagena Convention. Distinguished invitees, civil society actors and representatives, members of the authors team of Grenada National Ecosystem Assessment, members of the media. On behalf of the National Ecosystem Assessment Initiative, I would like to express our appreciation to CANARI for inviting us to participate in this great moment of celebration to launch the Citizens Guide to the Grenada National Ecosystem Assessment. We are delighted to see that the National Ecosystem Assessment process in Grenada not only resulted in a solid, relevant, and legitimate report of 550 pages of evidence and analysis on the status, trends, and drivers of change of invaluable ecosystem of Grenada and their services, and a summary for policymakers, but also in a citizen's guide to communicate easily the findings to civil society and other stakeholders for their awareness and informed decision-making. The National Ecosystem Assessment Initiative has been providing capacity support to countries worldwide since 2017 for developing national ecosystem assessments. The initiative builds capacity, provides support, and fosters knowledge exchange through a highly qualified, multicultural, and interdisciplinary team of practitioners and partners. Grenada was the first island in the Caribbean to develop a national ecosystem assessment following the IPBES conceptual framework and methodology. The initiative provided technical support and involved our community of practice for peer-to-peer knowledge exchange and capacity building during this process. The participation of more than 72 experts from different disciplines involved in the assessment emphasizes the efforts to raise awareness of biodiversity and ecosystem services which define Grenada's diversity and culture. We are very pleased to see that all this valuable information is now available for a broad audience, the citizens, who also make decisions relevant to nature's conservation and sustainable use. We hope that civil society uses the findings and messages in the Citizens Guide to make better decisions in their daily lives, contributing to the conservation of nature and the well-being of their families, communities, and societies. Thank you very much.
And now it is my pleasure to invite Ms. Laverne Walker, the Marine Pollution Program Manager at the Secretariat of the Cartagena Convention, to address you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Honorable Corinne James, Minister of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Mrs. Aria Lewis of the Environment Division, Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Mr. Joseph Antoine, Friends of the Earth, Ms. Juanita Chavez Posada, Senior Program Officer with UNEP, WCMC, Dr. Natalie Budram from CANARI. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cartagena Convention is happy to partner with CANARI through the GEF UNEP Integrating Water, Land, and Ecosystem Management in Caribbean Small Island Developing States, otherwise known as IWECO project, to support the development of the Citizens Guide to the Grenada National and Ecosystem Assessment. So I have to take the opportunity to say a bit about the IWECO project for those who may not be familiar with it. The IWECO project commenced in 2017, and it is a regional project which builds on the work of the previous Integrated Water and Coastal Area Management, otherwise known as IWCAM project, which took place in Caribbean SIDS. IWECO, which is now winding down, sought to contribute to the preservation of the region's ecosystems that are of global significance and to the sustainability of livelihoods. The project focused on improving the management of fresh and coastal water resources, land resources, and forests. So just sharing some notable results, we actually, through CAFA and OECS, supported the development of a regional environmental monitoring data portal, otherwise known as REMDAM, which serves as a clearinghouse mechanism and decision-making tool to strengthen the process of regional environmental monitoring and assessment within the Caribbean region. We also strengthening of field monitoring and assessment capabilities through conduct of a comprehensive regional laboratory assessment, which led to the development of 5 training modules related to improved data management, which are available online. And we also, through the assistance of CAFA as well as the OECS Commission, supported the development of the framework for integrated water resource management, IWRM, for the CARICOM region, which seeks to strengthen the policy, legislative, and institutional mechanisms and capacity building for integrated water resource management and ecosystem service management while increasing climate and disaster resilience. 2 weeks ago, the final meeting to review the draft took place in St. Lucia. There were also a number of national interventions within participating SIDS, which resulted in improved sustainable land management practices as well as improved livelihoods. So although Grenada was not one of the countries which benefited from a national project under the IWECO project, by partnering with CANARI for the Capacity Building and Knowledge Products Initiative to enhance the use and uptake of the National Ecosystem Assessment of the Tri-Island states of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, we are happy that Grenada was able to benefit from this initiative. As I understand, the guide provides a synopsis of the content of each chapter of the National Ecosystem Assessment, but with general reorganization of the content to improve flow and readability. I also understand that the guide does not seek to replace the National Ecosystem Assessment, but instead seeks to facilitate uptake by civil society, which we believe are important stakeholders in the need for improved environmental management in our region. Lastly, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Natalie Boudram for her commitment towards ensuring the successful finalization of this activity so that the country could have a usable and relevant product. I congratulate you all. I congratulate all of you who have been a part of this process and hope that this output can contribute to increased environmental awareness locally and within the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Thank you very much for your organization's support to realizing this product, Citizens Guide. Before I invite Dr. Natalie Boudram to tell you all about this, I am pleased to welcome Permanent Secretary Perran Johnson from the Ministry of Climate Resilience, Environment, and Renewable Energy. Welcome, Ms. Johnson. So Dr. Natalie Boudram, the Senior Technical Officer of CANARI, was the lead on this project and project manager. I am very pleased to invite Natalie to take us on this journey, which leads us to today.
Great. Good morning, everyone. All protocols previously observed, but also to acknowledge and welcome Permanent Secretary P.S. Johnson. Thank you very much for joining us as well, in addition to the Honorable Minister, who we are very, very grateful to have with us today. So to get into a little less formal mode, I think those of you who know me know I am not the most formal person. I'm very happy today. We are launching today the Citizens Guide to the Grenada National Ecosystem Assessment. And I'm just going to spend a few minutes to talk about how this product came about, what it looks like, and how we hope it will be used. So let me start. I suspect everybody on this call is very familiar with CANARI, but if you're not, we are a nonprofit technical institute operating across the Caribbean for many years, and our focus is on stakeholder participation in the stewardship of natural resources in the Caribbean. And given that focus that we have, the government of Grenada very kindly asked us to develop the Grenada National Ecosystem Assessment on their behalf. And this was essentially a very large research project that took place between 2019 to 2023. And as Juanita would have mentioned, it was done with financial support from the International Climate Initiative. And the project, the overall project, which involves a number of countries, was overseen by her agency, the UNEP WCMC organization. So coming out of that project was the main assessment report, as she mentioned, 550 pages. I think it's 547 pages, a very heavy document. Can I confess I'm using it to prop up my laptop because it's so big and bulky. But the main very academic report full of information and analysis was released in 2023. So we have that finished. And then very recently, last couple of weeks, we also released the summary for policymakers, which we hope was able to do a good job in terms of packaging the policy recommendations so that the decision makers in Grenada can easily interpret what needs to be done in terms of that sort of framework for environmental management. So we've released 2 of the products, and then we have this third one today. And this product has come about because of the whole participatory approach to the Grenada NEA, where we acknowledge and thank the very wide range of stakeholders who were involved in developing the NEA. As I tell everybody, the first meeting we had to design the NEA was with civil society stakeholders, but we've also factored in the perspectives of, I believe the current term is a whole of society approach. So we've had feedback from youth, from government agencies about what they wanted to see and learn from this ecosystem assessment. But in addition to having everybody participate in the development of the information, what we wanted to make sure was that all stakeholders were able to access, understand, and utilize the information that came out of the Grenada NEA for decision-making, for communication of environmental information with whichever other stakeholders you are engaging with. So apart from this main academic report, we then move forward to develop an additional product which would specifically and primarily support civil society stakeholders, but it is available for everybody who wants to absorb the information or pull out the information from the NEA in a very quick, factual, succinct way to use in their activities. So to facilitate this additional product, we sought funding from and are very grateful to the Jeff IW Eco Project, which, as Levin would have mentioned, it's the Integrating Water, Land, and Ecosystems Management in Caribbean Small Island Development States project, and it's being implemented by UNEP, and Grenada is a beneficiary under that project. So with their very kind agreement to fund a small project to support what we wanted to do, we developed this project on capacity building and knowledge products to enhance the use and uptake of the Grenada NEA. So what that smaller project entailed is the development of the Citizens Guide to the NEA, which we are launching today, but also to highlight that we also were able to do some capacity building with civil society and other stakeholders on how best to use the information from the NEA and how to communicate information. How do you package information, whether it's for social media, whether it's to present at a meeting, so that you can effectively communicate towards better environmental management. So the training we did was building communications capacity, focusing on the environmental and economic information in the Grenada NEA. And as a further output, we've actually developed communication strategies. Sorry, I left out the word communication strategies, which we hope to implement. We are looking for funding to do this as part of other projects that we are developing communication strategies around topics that were key within the Grenada NEA and is in the mind of our civil society stakeholders and other stakeholders as well. So there is much interest in having debushing being done in a much more sustainable way in Grenada. And we're hoping to do some work towards that towards that outcome. And then we also are very interested in mangrove conservation and promoting mangrove conservation as a next step of the recommendations coming out of the Grenada NEA. So the Citizens Guide, you would have noticed all our packages have our information products, have the same sort of look. We have a lovely graphic designer who has done all this wonderful drawings, sketches, etc. But this is the Citizens Guide document. And the Citizens Guide is pretty succinct. And what we are recommending is anybody who wants the very detailed information, the very detailed analysis, including all the references, they can go to the main NEA document. But what the Citizen Guide does is that it tries to pull out the key facts and figures, talking about the status, trends, and as we know, this is a valuation project. So we're talking about the value, whether it's economic value, cultural value, etc., of these ecosystems, so that our stakeholders can quickly extract and communicate information on environmental topics. So we do include as well glossaries, explanations as needed, and we are in the process of printing copies, which we will distribute. So I know everybody is actually probably really just want to get into the document, and Aditi, you can go ahead and put the link in the chat if you haven't already done so. So while I continue for a few more minutes, you can start taking a look at what the document actually looks like. So as we mentioned, it basically covers the topics within the NEA itself. So we have sections within the Citizen Guide focusing on the main ecosystem types that were highlighted in the NEA, agriculture and ecosystems, coastal, deep ocean, forest, freshwater, and offshore islands. So we have within that document succinct information on each of those ecosystem types. And like the Grenada NEA itself, the main ecosystem assessment document, there is emphasis on genetic resources and talking about climate resilience, as both of these are key topics for Grenadians. We also have a little section within this document on what we call maximizing ecosystem services. These are the tools, the policies, the strategies we need to establish and implement to be able to protect these ecosystems and the services that they provide. And we also have a little section on what future scenarios for Grenada would look like if we choose the route of protecting these ecosystems or if we don't. We also have within the document a little bit of information on the existing legislation and multilateral environmental agreements, which our civil society stakeholders ask for, just a list of what Grenada has agreed to or has in place with regards to environmental management. So just to share what the document, like I said, generally looks like, looking at the example of forest ecosystems. So each section starts off with some key facts, some information on the status. So for example, in the case of forest ecosystems with regards to frog, we notice, for example, that there are endemic species, endemic frog species in Grenada. We also have a little bit of information here on snakes and lizard species. So like I said, this is just a quick snapshot of how we've organized the information. So after giving some of the key facts there, we also highlight very specifically the value of these ecosystems. Now here we've actually focused on the economic value, given, for example, how much mahogany is worth or how much is being sold for, what the volumes of fuel would that have been harvested, etc. So we have these facts and figures that you can pull out and say, hey, this is an important patch of forest. This is what we can get from the forest in terms of economic value. I actually haven't highlighted any of the information, my error, sorry, on the cultural and recreational significance, the intrinsic value of these ecosystem types. But within the document, this is highlighted as well. And then we go into talking about some of the threats and issues for each ecosystem type. So for example, a key threat in Grenada to our forest ecosystem is the invasive species Johnstone's whistling frog. This is something that we need to be cognizant of, for example, within our management strategies for our forest ecosystems. The documents also for each ecosystem type highlights different trends, talking again about the frog population in this example I gave out here, that it's showing a declining trend because of the invasive species threat and associated fungal diseases. We've also highlighted in each section what are some of the information gaps, what are some of the research we need to be able to better manage these ecosystems. And then for each ecosystem type, we're talking about the maximization of the ecosystem services, highlighting what frameworks, agreements, information exists, and then what else we need to do to better protect these ecosystems and services. So tomorrow, as our Grenadian colleagues would know, is the Guava fisherman's birthday. And we're very, very happy that Minister has joined us ahead of this very busy day tomorrow. But to show you how we can use the Grenada NEA, we were, for example, NEA Citizens Guide, we, for example, were able to quickly do this flyer, pulling out information from the coastal ecosystem section on the value of Grenada's fishery resources. So this flyer would be distributed tomorrow at the Guav event. I wish I could come across for that. No, not tomorrow. Yeah, wait, today's Friday, so Saturday, yes. I wish I could be there in person, but at least we have information from the Grenada NEA to be able to distribute tomorrow. So good luck and all the best for that event tomorrow. Okay, so just close up, just to thank everybody, in particular invitees today, the Honorable Minister, P.S. Johnson, of course, to thank our funders, the Jeff IW Eco Project, and while we have Mr. Vern Walker here with us today, I have to acknowledge her colleague, Donna Spencer, who was very integral to this process. Technical support from WCMC, just to say thanks to Pratik, who helped us with some of the writing. The Canary team, in particular, Aditi. We had some great consultants, Celeste and Lucia, who did all of the graphic design. It's a very lovely graphically designed document, all of them. Thanks, of course, to the government of Grenada for engaging Canary for the NEA and also being so supportive, including for the Citizen Guide. Thanks to Sandra, our civil society co-chair, for her work on the Citizens Guide. And of course, finally, to all our civil society colleagues for their input. It is our hope that this guide will be useful to you and that it will be widely used. So thank you very much, and back to you, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for that very comprehensive overview. And colleagues, we do have some questions, a little space for questions at the end, after we have heard from our Honorable Minister, Grenada James. Thank you, Minister, for taking the time ahead of your busy schedule. So may I invite you to deliver the feature remarks.
All right, thank you so much, Madam Chair. Good morning to everyone joining us from across the globe for this pivotal virtual event, the unveiling of the Citizens Guide to Grenada's National Ecosystem Assessment. I am very excited. I want to start off by acknowledging the invaluable support of the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute, Canary, which facilitated in the creation of this essential guide. Your efforts were bolstered by, of course, the Global Environment Facility under the Jeff Integrating Water, Land, and Ecosystems Management in Caribbean Small Island Developing States project. It is my profound pleasure to address you today at the launch of our Citizens Guide, an initiative concluding with a month filled with environmental stewardship, starting with the World Environment Day and culminating in tomorrow's Fisherman's Birthday celebrations in Guelph, St. John. Most of you might already know that I am also the MP for St. John, and Guelph is my birth and home place. This guide, alongside the NEA and the summary for policymakers, forms what I believe a critical trilogy that reflects our deep commitment to biodiversity during this pivotal decade. The documents are a testament to what we can achieve when academia, when local communities, the government, and especially the private sector collaborate to forge a sustainable path forward. Our natural wealth, including varied fruit trees and pristine yet vulnerable reefs, is under threat from factors like invasive species and ecological imbalance. The COVID-19 pandemic, of course, has starkly reminded us of our intrinsic connection with the natural world, illustrating how environmental degradation can reverberate through our health and livelihoods. Yet, within these challenges lies the opportunity for us to rethink and reshape our interactions with nature through a comprehensive societal approach. And so the launch of the Citizens Guide coincides with a crucial moment as we advance into a decade of action. And so the steps we take now to halt biodiversity loss will set the groundwork for the legacy we leave for our future generations. And so this guide, coupled with our NEA, provides an up-to-date snapshot of our biodiversity and ecosystem services, offering insights into the unique characteristics of our tri-island state and fostering multi-sectoral collaboration. And so as we integrate the findings of the NEA into our national strategies, including the National Environment Management Strategy and the National Adaptation Plan, we pave the way for a harmonized approach to achieving both climate resilience and biodiversity conservation. And so this alignment underscores the necessity of a unified response to the interconnectedness crisis of biodiversity loss, climate change, and pollution. And so as we mark the launch of the Citizens Guide, we recognize that it is more than just a publication. It is a blueprint for engaging every segment of our society in meaningful environmental action. And tomorrow, as you heard the last presenter mention, we celebrate Fisherman's Birthday. And so I want to take the opportunity to invite everyone, both locally and online, to join us in honoring this symbiotic relationship between our community and the biodiversity that sustains us. So let us move forward with the knowledge and the conviction that what we do today will profoundly influence our natural world and ensure the vibrancy of Grenada's ecosystem for all who rely on them now and in the future. And so I want to place on record again my thanks and my appreciation to everyone who has made this possible. It will go a long way in terms of our planning and our strategy, and let us go forward with implementing and more action on the ground. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And now it's my pleasure to pass it over to Aditi to moderate the question and answer session. Aditi is the technical officer with the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute and was integral to the assessment exercise. Aditi.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in today. And yes, I'm opening up the floor to you all, actually. Any questions for our esteemed speakers, please feel free to raise your hand or you can put them on the chat. But yes, I'm opening up the floor. Great to see so many of you joining in today. And yes, welcome to all our esteemed guests. And I'm opening up to everyone now. Please don't feel shy to put your hands up if you have any questions. Natalie, if you want to start us off.
Yes, it's also fine if you're busy perusing the document. But any comments or any questions will be appreciated. Yeah. If not, we can finish a few. Oh, I see Howard. Thank you, Howard. Go ahead.
Yeah, Natalie, great to see the document out. I just wanted to ask, what's going to be the distribution of the document for those people who don't have internet access?
Oh, okay. So we are printing copies. We will be getting them across to Grenada shortly, and we will coordinate with both our civil society stakeholders and the Environment Division for the distribution of the document. Yes? Okay, great.
Not seeing any more questions. So I guess everyone is excitedly reading the document, Natalie. So I'll give everyone a couple of minutes.
Yes, I'm not seeing any comments or questions either. And that is absolutely fine.
Feel free to
You all
also
know
give
how to reach
some
us if you
questions,
all
I
do
guess.
have questions. Yeah,
Yeah. I'll put our emails in the chat if you have questions after you peruse the documents, so that you can also feel free to email us. Natalie, I'll put your email address.
great. All right, thanks very much. And Sandra, we can turn back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. So basically, Natalie has did all the acknowledgements already. I would like to just make a few comments, remarks. First of all, I would like to thank Canary for the opportunity to have contributed to the development of, to have participated in the process. But of course, we know that Canary is an NGO, and it also believes in participation and stakeholder inclusion. It is also recognized that the challenges we are facing for a sustainable future cannot only be dealt with by one sector, but involves the inclusion of everyone. And that real and genuine action on the ground is what really matters, and that is a recognized strength of civil society organizations. So we therefore congratulate Canary for positively responding to the request and recommendation of the civil society stakeholders. And this is one of the first knowledge products, first uses of the assessment. As indicated, funds had to be sourced separately in order to realize this commitment, and we want to thank IWECO and the Global Environmental Facility for supporting this. And in former remarks, Ms. Laverne Walker shared that with us. Let me say that I was at a session, a two-day session last week in another part of the world, a webinar, and I'm not quite sure, I thought, how did I end up here? But in the presentations, there were two presenters, and they talked about the challenge of translating the very technical, high-level information in the assessment to language that could be understood by the ordinary citizen, because of course they have to be co-opted to take action as well. So I was very, very pleased to share with them that in our assessment, one of the first products, and that it had been asked for, requested by civil society organizations, was a civil society guide to the National Ecosystem Report. I therefore hope that this will set a precedent in the future in the spirit of stakeholder engagement and participation, in recognition of the important roles of both civil society, other non-state actors, the state, and the needs of all of these will be acknowledged. So we have a summary for policymakers, and we also have a citizen's guide to help us understand, uptake, and implement, both in action and in words, the information from the National Assessment Report. We now need to keep our commitment to use the document to its fullest extent to guide our contributions, our advocacy programs, our public education, our informed engagement in discussions to influence policymakers, to influence persons on the ground. to implement projects. So my sincere thank you to the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute. Thank all of you who have taken some time off to celebrate this moment with us today. Thank you all for coming. Do have a wonderful rest of the day. Back to you, Natalie.
Okay, guys, so that is the end of today's little launch. Thank you to everyone who was able to join. Of course, the minister and the PS, special thanks to you. Please check out the document and talk to everyone soon. Bye.